questions before we open up the lines here?
Comment.
Yes.
So what is really fascinating, because I am taking the Psychology of People course, and what's really interesting about this to me is that the course, when this was being drawn up a million years ago, this was really a recruiting, onboarding, and retention program. And Mark, I'll have you just talk about engineered clarity just for a second, because through the different communities and different, offerings, people just getting together and talking and sharing ideas, sharing energy, that whole concept of recruiting, onboarding, and retention, although that was the genesis, this is so much more. And we collectively figured this out. So it wasn't one person going, oh, no. It was conversation, give and take, quantum thinking that changed the direction. And so Psychology of People touches so many different areas. You saw and heard today one area, lots more.
What's interesting, because Tom, he has shared, and Peter Miles went ahead and helped. He went through and he went ahead and also taught Leverage, the magical arts of positive. They emphasize positive motivation and manipulation. And Peter shared in that course, and there was a lot of intellectual property from that course also through Life Masteries Institute that was brought into the Psychology of People. But Peter Miles said, this is so foreign to corporate America. He's like, it's like they don't even have context. It's like if somebody says, well, I've been through Myers-Briggs, or, I've been through DISC or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with those. It's not. Those are good. Just can't do it in 17 seconds or at hello. And they don't go nearly as deep. They're not going 65,536 levels deep. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. It's very easy. Tom said what's amazing about the courses is, he said, it's so simple a child can understand it. He went ahead, as Paul had recommended, when he went through one of the certification courses and teaching it, he had his wife, his ex-wife, all his children, their spouses, and his grandchildren all go through it. And they did it over the holidays. And he's like, Mark, this is it's just insane. He said it answered so many questions about it. An individual went through, and she had her doctorate in psychology, and she went through one of the courses Life Masteries has. It's a 12-hour, I think, online course. And she said, I learned more in that 12 hours than I did with my doctorate in psychology. So this stuff you can't go on the internet. You can't go to colleges to get this stuff. Anything you know about personalities from any, course you've taken or certification, it's fine. It's great. It'll enhance anything that you've gone through. It doesn't contradict it. It enhances it and accelerates it. Many years ago, when I was in the mortgage industry, I went ahead and utilized this, and the president of that company took it. I moved from a loan officer to a regional manager, marketing manager, and then VP of sales, and designed an entire system to bring and onboard in loan officers, recruit, onboard, and retain loan officers. And in the 4 years I was in that before I started my own company, nobody could steal, like they tried, but they could never take our loan officers. The president of that company, he went ahead and said, Mark, he was with Caterpillar all over the world, and he said, I have never seen a recruiting system like this ever in any industry. Citibank and Northern Trust came in and evaluated the company, and they said, we've never seen anywhere in the country a program that's so precise in how it's put together, recruits people, onboards them, trains them, mentors them to go out and develop amazing referral partners and give tremendous service to people. So it really is something that is very unique. Here's something that kind of goes into the psychological, and that's interesting. So the 4 aspects for each of the personalities, you can even look at mental health. And so some of the disorders that the analytic will often have is kind of despair. They can get depressed. So pride, disassociation, major depression, bipolar. And so these are some of the things that the analytic can have. So Life Masteries with the Life GPS, they're looking at raising this next 12 months over $1 million to take the mobile app into schools to help overcome and prevent teen and adult suicide. To be able to help understand the science behind depression. To be able to help bullying, to help any type of addictions, all of those type of things. The driver personality, the pyramid, out of control, they can, there's disorders, defiant, poor conduct, disruptive, sexual disorders, oppositional, physical abuse. The expressive, the wavy line, things being boring or not fun, kind of the core is foolishness, disorders, narcissism, ADD, ADHD, addictions, explosive drama, eating disorders, obsessive and compulsive disorders. And the amiable, the ball, conflict with others, often the disorders connected that they have is panic attacks, passive-aggressive, stress, post-traumatic, anxiety, social phobias. So when you look at what this is, it's not a helping mechanism for people. It's really a healing mechanism. It's not designed to help people. It's designed to heal them at the very core, the very essence, of who an individual is. We didn't even get into Paul and Janae and the DNA for business, DNA for life. Those are really cool things as well. But for those that are participating, what is your biggest challenge as it relates to people? So what is your biggest challenge as it relates to people? And then get a part of a community. And there's a whole bunch of communities. There's mastermind communities, nonprofit communities. There's coffee connection communities. All of those are no charge at all. They have, the coolest thing is EC2 squared. It's Engineer Clarity Community. And that community, there is a small fee. It's $20 a month, but it's worth, if it was through a for-profit company, it'd be thousands of dollars a month. It's just amazing on how to come together. And so, again, there's a bunch of different groups through Life Masteries, and a lot of them, mastermind groups, are free. So what's your biggest challenge as it relates to people? And write that down. Once you identify your personality, and then once you identify their personality, it's like magic happens. Oh my gracious, this makes sense. We understand. So my wife and I, we've been married for 35 years. And first 2 years were really tough. She was 19, I was 20, we're both in college. And, I'm a driver, analytic personality, analytic driver. She's an amiable, some analytic, some expressive, but a double amiable. So, when we were dating and engaged, we fell in love because she was the nicest person I'd ever met. She's wonderful. She's going to be a wonderful wife, wonderful mother. I fell in love with her. She fell in love with me. Man, this guy's driven. He knows what he wants in life. He's going after it like he is. He's not going to allow me to be taken advantage of, or the kids. We fell in love. Totally. And then we got married. And then, she lets the kids take advantage of her. She's a parent. They're kids. I know there's 7 of them, but hello, we're parents. So it's she's late to everything, people take advantage, kids take advantage of her. Maybe she's not as direct, as honest on some things. So I'm come on. What does she think of me? He's a jerk. He doesn't care. And so the very things that draw us together, both in personal and in professional, the coworker that we dislike the most, there's a high statistical probability they're the opposite personality. So even though you dislike them, trust me, they probably dislike you just as much, but if they're amiable, they're not going to tell you that, but they do. And so the person at work that we dislike the most, that we have the hardest time connecting with, that's the person that can bring us the most value, and we can bring them the most value. It's a totally different way to look at it. So what's your biggest challenge as it relates to people? The 530 grid, we didn't get into that, but you can use the psychology of people. It incorporates all of this, the 7-week course. And so what's your biggest challenge as it relates to business or your economic engine or, your career? So anything having to do with your economic engine, how you earn a living, what's your biggest challenge there? And the 530 grid combined with the DNA for people will help you solve that. But write it down. And then the DNA for life, that's the coolest. There's over 500 natural laws that Life Masteries Institute and their many networks that they're involved with have discovered. And I'm telling you, you discover a natural law, like my 29-year-old son who's now married, when he was 9 years old, he comes running up to me, dancing up to me. He's like, Dad, I discovered a new law. I'm like, buddy, what is it? He's like, it's the domino principle, Dad. I'm like, the domino principle? What does that mean? He's like, Dad, like I'm dumb. He's like, Dad, when you stack dominoes up, you tip one down and the others go down? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's like in life too. Like you make one poor decision and then all of a sudden it dominoes down. I'm like, a 9-year-old figured this out. So, Janae and Paul, any questions or thoughts before we go ahead and open up the lines?
Final thought. I was actually talking to somebody last night, and we were talking about Myers-Briggs, and let's say I vaguely remember ISPJ. I'm like, good, I'm an ENFP. So what does that mean together? And they were like, nothing. And correct, nothing, because even, and I've taken all of them, and this one is the first one that actually has a practical meaning in all areas, life, business, social, personal. Can't say enough of it, but I will because it's time for Q&A.
Nice. Ski, you've been through a number of different pieces, and you've been in corporate America a long time, experienced a lot. Questions or thoughts that you have, Ski?
Mark, I'm not in a good place right now to be able to.
Oh, no worries.
Hear.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
Alan, any questions or thoughts, Alan, that you have?
Yeah, I was wondering, so how do you deal with, you got a client who's, super rich, and they're super analytical? I mean, they expect everything perfect beyond what's attainable. But
I thought you said they were super rich. Oh,
yeah,
they're not that rich?
You lost me there.
Well, I thought if you had enough money, you could go ahead and pay for anything to be perfect.
Oh, I didn't say they want to pay for it. They just want it perfect. I didn't say they wanted to pay for it.
Oh, I get it. They're like my 7-year-old grandson or 5-year-old grandson, where they want to make money without, doing the hard work. They want something, you got to make sacrifice. That's hard, Alan.
And a woman.
Yeah. So 75% roughly, Life Masteries, when they get this mobile app totally going, they'll be able to research. But it looks like about 75% of men will tend to choose the pyramid or the cube. 25% of men will choose the wavy line and the ball. And then 75% of women will choose the wavy line or the ball, and 25% will choose the cube and the pyramid. And so a lot of the things that are stereotypical of men and women, actually people aren't stereotyping male and female. They're not stereotyping the gender. They're actually stereotyping the personality, but they don't know it. And so personalities, it's like not stereotyping. You're wired. You're wired to think and act and, do certain things. So the analytic, how would you handle somebody that's really rich that wants everything perfect and is unwilling to pay for it? You might come up with something, Alan, where you say you can have it at the price you want. You can have 2 out of the 3. You can have price you want, time delivered, or perfect. But so somehow you've got to get them out of, see what they're used to doing, Alan, as you probably know, in building $1 million conservatories all around the world, is people that have money often are used to using that as leverage to get what they want. And maybe one of the reasons they have money is they're really, really stingy or frugal, maybe you might say. And so, questions on that, Alan?
Well, my partner here, Nancy,
Yes.
might have some comments.
Hey, Nancy. Good to have you on.
Hey, Mark. Thank you. So this person that he's referring to actually is willing to pay premium price.
Okay.
So they don't want to settle. They don't want to settle for anything
Sure.
less.
Okay. Good.
So yeah. So but maybe so industry standard maybe is not as perfect as they see it. They scrutinize it. And they see every flaw.
Right.
So I guess that was your question, Alan. How do you satisfy someone who wants it to be perfect, but things aren't perfect, and they're not really willing to accept that?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not saying this is a good idea, right? We're just brainstorming here. So this last 12 months, I've made 7 mistakes. Like, I don't know why anybody even listens to me. Like, that's a mistake. I make more than 1 mistake every other month. Like, that's so pathetic. Like, how crazy is that? Like, it's insane. And it's interesting, the response, because I think as a driver analytic, really 7 is very, very serious. Like, I got to get better I can't make so many mistakes in a year. Most people, though, they're just laughing. They're like, let me talk to your wife, because I'm guessing that she's thinking you made more than 7. So they ask her, they say, hey, Rosanna, has he made more than 7? She just laughs. And she's like, yes, he has, but I don't remember them. I don't have, there's not documented. So those are 7 documented mistakes. So I don't know with the analytic, I guess, like in, like Paul and Janae are in the mortgage industry, and you have, a good faith estimate. And if that good faith estimate is 10 cents off, the analytic it's a big issue. So one of the things I have 3 degrees in business, and I took a lot of accounting classes, and what they teach you in Accounting 101 is if you have a 10-cent mistake, it's a big issue, because it might reveal something much more. So I think a lot of people who are wealthy, they've had a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of them, and so I think they're super often hypersensitive. And so they might be looking, for mistakes. And if you minimize the mistake, then the analytic, or if you discount it or if you rationalize it, the analytic will then look for more mistakes. And so it's like, obviously with, 1.1 million different parts and all the ingredients, we're not going to be perfect, but that's what we strive for. And so we want you to let us know when something's not perfect. And then you put somebody who's analytic on that client who's going to appreciate how they're going to take your company's systems to another whole dimension of success. So it's not an irritant. It's not unrealistic they're paying for it. They're paying for premium. They're paying for perfection. When it's not there, you're all over it. And you have somebody on it that's more upset about it than they are. And they will absolutely love you because, they're not used to that level of service, that level of humbleness, that level of attention to detail, that level of expectation. Make sense?
Yes, Mark, it does.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Nancy, I'm sorry. Can I ask her a question?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah.
Hey, Nancy, it's Paul.
Hey,
I'm
Paul.
curious when you talk about industry standard, because, I don't know your industry intimately at all, but, I use an analogy. A normal stud in a wall is offset at whatever it is, 14 or 16. People custom build at 10 because they don't want creaking and all that stuff. Is there better than industry standard? So if this guy is willing to pay up, can you create a better than standard version custom to take that argument away? Like, we'll give you perfect, but you'll have to pay for perfect.
I think there is perfect, but there's human error. Humans get into the mix. So,
well, that's what makes it beautiful is the perfection of the imperfection, right? I mean,
not to a driver analytic, Paul.
oh,
Yeah, no, the driver.
I'm
You're expressive, so you're like, oh, that's the beauty. No, that's not beautiful. No, that is not beautiful.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, it's something. Again, if you can get the analytic to service them, and the analytic isn't looking at like this person's picking on me, they're taking it personal. It's like we're going to deliver at a higher level than we've ever delivered before, and they're willing to pay for it, and they paid for it, so they deserve a higher level. They're still not going to be happy with that higher level, and we're okay with that. The truth is so is the client. Now, they might not tell you they're okay with it, but they might be talking at home and saying, man, wow, that's amazing that they're able to do that. And so you look at it as a learning experience. And so with clients who are not happy, it's how you respond to it that has a bigger impact, and understanding why it's not happy. The analytics not going to be happy because it's not perfect. The driver's not going to be happy because it's out of control. The expressive's not going to be happy because you missed the deadline and they had a party and now you messed up their party. The amiable's not going to be happy because they're probably married to the driver, and when the driver's not happy, there's going to be conflict. Questions? Did we lose you?
no, I think no
Okay.
question.
Okay, cool. Anyone else have anything else? We all filled up today? So here's the grid of, this is what's on the mobile app, where it'll actually grid people out. Is this the coolest thing in the world? Like, it'll grid people out. So this is the grid of myself and my 5 grandkids. And so it's really cool, where it can look at the geo and the pain quadrant and then the combined test. So it's a lot of fun. So again, check out Life Masteries Institute. Check out the course. There's a whole library of free gifts that's available. If you have any questions, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling in outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number is 630-393-9909. That's 630-393-9909. Janae, Paul, thanks so much for co-hosting. This was so much fun. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.